Hello and welcome back to part 2 of episode 15. We resume where we left off last time, about to start to do the box trace collision for our placing of buildings. So without further ado, I will leave you with myself to continue with the next part of episode 15. So we was doing it here, wasn't we? Into there, and we'll just reattach this into where it was before, and let's have a look. Activate the tool. So that's correct. Yeah, not a problem. So then what we do is rotate, but we've still got the same. It looks pretty simple. It looks like we just need to change the values again, like with just a modification. Is it going to be the same? Probably not the same modification, because we're finding an endpoint. So let's have a think how that's going to work. So because obviously we're going to have to change the axis that it's drawing on, aren't we? So we're going to have to simplify this quite a fair bit. So we've checked our rotation. We've got our grid position. That grid position should be the same. Let's try and do this using our grid position. Because I'm sure what we're doing here is identical to what we're doing here. And then we're adding 50 for our grid position. I'm sure that's what we're doing inside our attached grid. And no, we're just getting the location there. We're not getting the center, are we? Or are we? No, we're just getting the one corner. So where are we getting the center on this? Are we adding it here? No, we're not, are we? Oh, we're using this grid position, aren't we? The grid size. Okay. Yeah. We're using the grid size to correct that positioning. Okay. Trying to think an easier way to do all this and make it as clean as possible. Obviously all this is actually going to go into another function itself, just to keep this part of the section clean. So all this is going to do is move the character. Do we just completely have a whole new set of code for this up here? Have its own function? Yeah, I think we do. Right. Okay, so let's figure this out. We now know how to set this, but we need to now add, it's not just modifiers now. We need to know which axis we are working on, because when it rotates, the endpoint needs to be in a different place. Same box, but we need to start it from a different edge around the cube location. So we need to check our start points and our endpoints based on the rotation. So what we should do then for now is all that there. We're going to bounce it into, or collapse as it calls it here, to a function, and we'll call this collision detect. Yeah, that has just cleaned up this dramatically, made that much nicer, much cleaner. And we can also probably do the same with all of that there, but for now let's just do collision detection. So collision detect, first thing I'm going to do, when you collapse a function, it names the inputs rather strangely. So click on this purple pink node, whatever you want to call it, and you just called it A, and this is going to be trace vector. Yeah, we've got our trace vector. What are we going to do with it? We know what part of the grid we're in. So from there, let's just get rid of that little dot. Oh, no, let's forget. Let's not. We'll get rid of that in a minute. Actually, no, we're going to get rid of it anyway because we're not coming to there. So what I'm going to do is start doing this underneath and using that at the top for a reference. So if we pull out, and what do we want to do? We want to do the same checks as before, don't we? So we want to branch. Okay. And if the condition is true, so the condition will be place rotation, and it will be equal, and the output there. So if there is no rotation, we come back out of here into there. Okay. So what will happen is the collision detection is going to work on the default rotation. Yeah, there we go. But as soon as we rotate it, the collision detection is going to stop because we haven't done that part of it yet. So let's look at the other rotations now. Am I still printing to the screen actually? Let's check the rotation. Yes, I am. That one is correct. So I'm obviously pointing down the x-axis. Now I'm pointing up the x-axis, yeah? Now, if we've rotated it, the trace here to start at a different spot. So these will all be false in. The default start position here. Right, so let's figure this out. The default start position, do we bump this into another function, or we just leave it in here? We're going to be repeating code otherwise like no tomorrow. So what we just need to do is figure out what we need to modify and add that into this new function, don't we? So let's bump this to a function. So this is going to be right click, collapse the function. There we go. So box detect start. Done. All we need to do is change our input and output values. So that's easy enough. Come in here, come along here, and let's bring that up as well. So our input is trace position, which it is. It should come from our trace position in trace vector. We'll recall it that. Yeah, we'll call it trace vector like we have there. So that will be trace. No, we'll call it trace position. I don't want to start duplicating variable names because they start getting a bit strange on us last time. So I'm not going to do that. Right, here we go. So here we have our detection start, and we also need to add in any modifiers. Let's figure out, no, before we start putting those in, let's figure out what those modifiers are. So we're going to call this box trace start. Okay, compile that. What have we got an issue for? It was prune because its exec pin was not connected, but it is connected. Oh, sorry. Thought it meant there. Into there. Right. Compile. Save. Just make sure I haven't broke anything, you know, as it does. So there we go. And then it's not happening there because we don't know what's going on, but it works that way perfectly. So when we rotate it the other way, we're still starting in the same box, but we're starting at the other extents. So let's have a look in box detect style. How do we need to modify this for the other one? Well, what we need to do is flip the box around, and so I don't want to change this code because this code works, but I just want to add a modifier. So the start will need to add to the X. Yep. We need to move the X here. So we're going to need an new input, and it's going to be an X modifier. Okay, and I'm going to add in obviously a Y modifier because at some point we're going to need that. It's the same sort of thing. And all we're going to do is add it in here. So if we add our X modifier and our Y modifier here, so if we get an add, now I'm pretty sure I can put that in there and then convert that to has to be float double position. I would have thought single position would have been enough, and then out to the X, but it works. Yeah, it has to be double position, but that doesn't matter. Oh no, float is double position, isn't it? Yeah, it is anyway. Yeah, right. So we don't need these nodes anymore. Let's get rid of that, and we'll get rid of that, and I can add in there. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Bring you down a bit more. So now we have this, we can add in, I'll need to move that over a bit, don't I? Our X modifier. Now, rather than drag them all the way across here, you can actually just go get X. Ooh, not good. Get X modifier, right? And what this does, it actually drags the same value from there, because it's just classed it as a variable, because that's what it is. We've brought through this variable, and that's what we're using. So now we do the same thing here. We just want to add. In fact, let's just delete that. Quickest way is just copy this one. Oh, don't want to do that. Just Control D, duplicate that. Oh, it didn't actually give it the value, did it? Is it going to stay that way? Yes, it has. Well, that's strange. It's converted that pin. And it's converted. I didn't know I could convert that pin. That's very strange. Okay. How interesting. I didn't know you could do it that way on there as well. That's fine. That's fine. It works, and that's what I like to see. I didn't realise you can modify. Oh, it's an add pin because it is. Yeah. So I've modified the output. That's fine. Get Y modifier. There we go. And bring that one up to there. So that shouldn't have broken anything on here at all for the default. So we'll just double check that again. I know there's a lot of going backwards and forth, but yeah, as you can see, it works fine. Okay, so now we need now this works, and we've got our modifier. We now need to work out what we modify them with. So in our collision detect here, we've now got this box start. So let's bring that down because we know this is staying. Bring this up. This up. There we go. Make it nice and neat. So if this one's true, this is going to have to come right across. I don't care what it does up there at the moment, because if it's a bit wonky, we'll change it. Okay. So we've got our box start. Now we need to see what we do when it's 180 degrees. So what did we say? It was on the opposite side of the same box. So are we adding or are we subtracting? We're adding, aren't we? Because we're on the other side of the same box. So our X modifier will be, so in here we need a local variable. We'll call it, I don't want to duplicate variables, so new X modifier. Okay, and obviously there's going to be a Y, new Y modifier. So those will plug into there, X, Y. And this will be set there to 100. So we'll try it as a plus into there. And we'll see if the start is correct. Now, it might go sideways. I don't know. But we shall see. So, okay. So it's actually a minus. Yeah, it's a minus. Starting one block to the left. Obviously, the end's wrong. We know that. That's not a problem. We'll deal with the end afterwards. Let's get the start done. So, if I do minus 100. So, back into here. Oh, no, it's just default, isn't it? Let me try. Let's see what this has done. I think I've just done this wrong, haven't I? No, it's correct. And it's also the correct way round. So I haven't got to modify the end. Perfect. Oh, that's perfect. That's fantastic. I haven't got to modify anything. So now that's whichever which way around that is, it's perfect. Okay. It's going better than I thought. So now we've got a new rotation of 90 degrees. Now this will have to modify the end position of the trace, because instead of going a box behind, we're going to a box to the left or the right, depending on which way the object is facing. We'll do that now. So we've got our 180. That works fine. You know what? I think I'm going to bring these all down so they follow in suit, so you know which one's which. I think that might just be a little bit more wise. We'll leave that there. Ooh, there. Just so we can see it. We can actually bring that down a little bit. Okay. So let's look how the Y works. Let's just get the start position of the Y first. Let's just first hook it up to the output. Let's see, we can cheat here. I don't know if you know this, but you can actually do this. This makes it a little bit easier, but I'm gonna have to put something in here anyway. But so let's see what the trace looks like when we rotate now. So okay, so the start position in all instances is perfectly correct. Yeah, the start position, well, or is it? That's what we need to check now, because because we're drawing the wrong way, we might be coming from the second box, if you understand me. So instead of this one first, it might be this one. So that might have to come across before we do this. But let's leave it at that for now. We seem to be in the right direction, is what I will say. So let's work on the trace part for the finish. Let's bring this across. We need to do it in here. And obviously we need to use all this code here. Do we condense these down? Okay, let's figure this out logically. So they all need to do the get and the grid size. So the grid size is important. That detects how long our box is going to be. But it obviously depends on which way the object is facing. So this is important. This is important. And we could possibly get this in one call before all this, so that only have to do this part once instead of repeating it each time we need to modify it. Does that make sense? All that is a break vector. Okay, that's fine, and we know that comes out of there. and that just goes to the start. So let's, for now, we know we work on the end, so let's just for now disconnect this, and let's disconnect the half size. And what I'm going to do is just going to click on that. I'm going to do half size on Y, but it might change because we're now rotated, so that might be half size on the X. So we might have to have two variables, sorry, on this, one for the X, one for the Y, and have modifiers on that depending on which way it's facing. Okay, so we're going to move this get. We know it comes out of there, so it doesn't matter. We're going to remove it from there and remove it from the trace. Okay, and this part here as well. I don't really want to remove it though, because I want it all. We know this is the start trace, so let's get rid of this. We know this is from the start. That's fine. So this is box detect start. Yep, with our modifiers. We'll probably have a box detect end now, I think, and we'll do the code we need to do inside box detect end. That makes sense, I think. So I'm going to bring this, just press the left arrow key all the way over, and then bring that. It's hard to select some. There we go. Let's bring that right over, and then select them both. Okay, so let's get this, and because all we need is this grid reference, yeah. So we'll add a local variable to get that reference to store it, so we can use it at any point in our code. So we'll do that right at the beginning. So we'll get, so this will be actor grid size, and that will be a vector 2D. There we go. So I'm going to leave that attached there. Let me just duplicate this for now. Duplicate both of these. I want to leave them attached because I want to see what I'm connecting to when I move code, so I don't accidentally mess things up. So we come across there, and you come across to there and go up. Okay, I'll bring you a bit further over. Let's get you and bring you up a bit. There we go, a little bit neater. Okay, let's bring all you back across, because oh no, we need that gap, don't we? Because we need to set something now. So let's recombine the structs there, and we just want to set this there, and then put that into there, and that into there, bring you up. There we go. We now can use that variable wherever we want. Yeah. So we don't need it over here, but I've left that attached so I can see what I was doing here. Now we need to do an end detect, don't we? So we know that's all working. So all that, let's just, there we go, nice and tidy. So we need to obviously set these values when we get our end position out. So for this, we've got one input here. So if we right click, collapse the function, and that's box detect end. And then if we go inside here, we've got this invec, which isn't too bad. I'll call this trace start. No, start vector, because we need our start vector to find our end vector. There we go. And we're going to also need our grid size, aren't we? So if we add in here grid size, and that will be a vector 2D. Let's see if it'll change. Oh, it changed first time, just normalize. And then we will just split the struct pin and bring those at the moment straight into there. We're not checking if this is valid because we don't need it anymore because it's already coming in. We already have the data. Okay, this is much tidier now, much tidier. So we just need to add an output vector now. So end trace. End vector. I can't remember what we called it on the other one, but it doesn't matter. We can always change it later. And that will be a vector. So bring our node over there. So at the moment, that should work. We don't want this half size at the moment. But do we want to calculate that in here? Yes, we do, because we're getting it from here, aren't we? And we need to realize where that is going to be, depending on which direction we're facing. So that's going to be the half size, but the half size, we do need to detect the half size here. So again, we're going to have a half size as a vector. So this is going to come out, and it could be the X or the Y, can't we? So in here, local variables, we need a X half size, and that will be a float, and a Y half size as a float. So what we need to do then is split the struct pin. We might just set the Z half size to 50 as usual. We don't need to change that. X half size into there. No, it's not doing it again, is it? Move that across. It won't let me drag them on for some reason when you split a struct pin. So X there and Y there and 50. I'm going to get rid of the half size thing there. Okay, so now at the moment we won't have the half size unless we default these two values to 50. Yeah, I think we'll do that just for now, just so we can see our traces. Yeah, so there we go. Let's see if that's broken anything. So we'll go back into our we've got to rename this, haven't we? Because the one's got space and the one hasn't. So let's make them the same. And there we go. And detect start. What did we call that? Box trace start. So we'll call that box trace end. Box trace. Ooh, not race. Trace end. Okay, there we go. So BPT toolbars. Let's just see what happens at the moment. I don't know if I've just broke it, but yeah, I think I have. Yeah, I've broken it. I've delinked it, haven't I? So let's go back into our event tick and collision detect, not event tick. There we go. So we're going to drag that out, and we're going to drag that in, and we also need to drag that out. I might actually put that on the output of here so it still carries on, and we'll put the box trace end, and we put the, let's recombine struct pin, put the half size in, and then we need to just put in our actor grid that we've set there. And let's try again. So We know that's... I thought we had that right. Okay. Oh, but I haven't... Yeah, I haven't changed. I've been messing about. So it looks like it's always starting in the correct place. Yeah. So what did I change in there that broke the end? So the end will be based on the grid start. Oh, why are we multiplying those together? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I'm going to have to recalculate this in my head, aren't I? So we're going to think of this logically. So we use our whiteboard to try and help us. So in the original positioning, it was plus. So the first box is going to be here. The second box is going to be there. And we know that's along the X. But when we rotate it, that's going to be along the Y. So all we need to do first is detect that, whether it's on the X or on the Y. Okay, and we just do that by using our 90-degree thing. We've already kind of got that kind of down to a T. So are we sending through... we'll just do another check. We'll do another check in here. Box detect end. What are we missing? What did we do this in? Collision detect. Okay. So we've got our start point. Now we need to do our end points. But we obviously need to send through some modifiers, don't we? And we can set those modifiers here. Now, what are the modifiers we need? So we need orientation, and we can use that based on the modifiers here and change these to start modifiers. So new start X modifier, new end X modifier. Then we don't need to send the grid size through. But then we'll be doing all the calculations here, won't we? Yeah, we will. So we need those. We need basically this again. So we need to set a modifier here to go into our detect end. So where's our modifier? There's our modifier. So we're going forward by 100. So this needs to be a modifier here. So we're going to click on here and we're going to say in the inputs X modifier, because we're not using it in here, and that's going to be a float value. No, it's going to be a float value. I just clicked on it. Thank you. So we can plug that into there. Right, let's just do that for now. Let's just play with the X for the time being. Let's have a look. And it could just be the same X modifier. Where am I going? It could just be the same X modifier, couldn't it? Because that's... No, that's negative 100. Yeah. So if it's 0, no, it's got to be either a plus or a 0, 1, plus or a minus 100, doesn't it? Yeah. So 1 needs to be plus, 1 needs to be a minus. So we'll come in here and we see new end X modifier. So I know it's a bit of a mouthful. I need to set that there. And if it defaults to 100, I won't need to set it again for the other one. So we'll default it to 100. And here we'll set it to minus 100. Okay. So if it comes here, the default value will be 100. Does that sound right to you? Sounds right to me. Yeah. And then we need to put that into here. So let's see what happens when we run that. It's a lot of checking. Didn't mean to do that. Meant to press 2. Okay, so it's going the wrong way. So I've got to flip these round. No, that's correct. So it's done the wrong one that I've changed that. So why was it working before? Strange. So I want to disconnect that, put you back in there, and I want to put this one in here and see what happens. Correct, incorrect, correct, incorrect. So the default value is probably 0. Would that be correct in assuming that? As long as I want to get the first one right. So the first one's correct. That is correct. So the other one, we need, to set it to default. So the default would be 0. Let's try that. So based on that, it should be negative on one and it should be 0 on the other. Let's see what happens. Fine. Aha, not fine. The actual start position's incorrect, which I thought that might be the case, but I don't get why though, or what went wrong with the start position. So maybe this needs to be 0. Let's just put 0 in there, see what happens. Maybe the start position was always correct and I overcompensated. That's fine. And that's fine now. Yeah. So I don't need that value in there. So they all just go through. So we're only modifying the end position by the looks of it, which makes sense. Yeah. So I don't need that value at all. Okay. So on this now, we should have, let's have a look. Press number 2. That's fine. That's wrong. So when we're at 180 degrees, I need to add a new modifier. So yeah, that makes sense now. So in here, new end modifier. Now, is it 0 or is it 100? It is 100. I can see the box inside it. Right, so the modifier will be plus 100 at 180. Let's check this works. Yep, there we go. We have a correct start and we have a correct end. There we go. So what we could do now is we don't need to modify the X and the Y on this at all. We don't even need to send anything through. So we delete, and we could go to the box detect start, and we don't need to, we didn't use them anyway. Oh no, we didn't use them anyway. Okay, that kind of makes sense, so that's fine. Let's do that. Ooh, we did use them here. So those go to there, those will go to there. Compile. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. There we go. And bring those back across. There we go. And let's just make sure that didn't just break it. That's fine. And that's fine. So now we have the box collision working in 2 angles. This video was probably split in half, I guess, because like I'm already at the hour and 41 mark, so I'm guessing I split it in half. So we have a start position. The start position is perfectly fine as it is. Let's go back into the end. Sorry, not the end, the collision detection. So now we need to change the Y. So the X won't change, but the Y will. Yeah, so there'll be no change to this. So the default value for end modifier will be 0. So we need a new Y modifier. I'm just going to change this one to new X modifier because we've no longer got them. Might as well keep these nice and simple. There we go. Right, now we need to set these so that they fit. So let's go. Right, what are we going to do? We're going to rotate, we're going to change the Y. So how do we change the Y? So the Y has gone from, that was the X, so the Y is this way. So now we're going to go this way. Yeah, so technically we should just be doing the same sort of thing but with the Y. Yeah, so if we throw that in there and the same in there and try and guess which way around we want each. Let's bring those. Ooh, bring those. I do that a hell of a lot. Just catch those pins. So let's bring that down. Let's get rid of that. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of typing. I should do that in my own time. Let's try minus 100 and let's try plus 100. And let's just see what that actually does so we can get an idea of the things we're playing at. So 2. Right. It's not doing anything. Okay. Okay. Nothing at all. So let's have a look to make sure that we've got the Y modifier hooked up, which we haven't. Detect end. Let's go in here and now we need to add in the Y modifier. Does help, doesn't it? So Y modifier. Ooh. Y modifier. We're adding the X here, but we've not done anything to the Y. So we're just going to do an add onto the Y and give that a try. Yep. I promise I will tidy that up. Okay. So that hasn't done anything. Why hasn't it done anything? So we're getting it. We're getting the new Y value and we're adding the Y. Oh, did we? We didn't plug it in. Sorry. My mistake. We need to plug it in here. It's because I'd only just added it and I was already inside there, wasn't I? So sorry about that. Oversight, that's all. And it's just the opposite way around. By the looks of it. It's just the opposite way around. And that, hopefully, is all it is. So 100 and minus 100. So let's have a look at that then. Tool, oh, back in here. Let's prototype. Then hit play. And number 2. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so it has been a while. It's been taking some time. I do apologize. But as you can see, we now have our collision detection. Now that's colliding still. Okay, I've had to pause that again right there. Rather than put you through another 20 minutes or so of me trying to debug the size of the box trace, because basically that's what's happening. The box trace is overlapping slightly, just slightly, with the mesh of the generator. Now, yeah, I was messing around trying to do all that, and then I came to a realization that we could have just changed the position of the mesh inside the blueprint, so the generator mesh. So rather than have the generator's mesh, main mesh, sat right on the edge of itself, we've moved it back just a fraction. So now, instead of being, I think it was on the X axis 25, I've moved it back as far as 23. And those couple of units, those couple of centimeters as it were, now mean that the new collision that we've just set up no longer overlaps. So rather than put you through listening to a load of me garble on about changing the size of the box collider and all this, that and the other, and this was the easy fix. Go into the generator and just move it along the x-axis to 23 instead of 25, and we can leave that there. There is a bit of jargon going on afterwards. If you wish to listen to that, you're more than welcome to, but that's the main bulk of this episode. Fine. There we go. So the modification of the generator was all that was needed, and in future, like I did say before, there needs to be a lot of discipline so that we can make sure that nothing clips over and make sure things spawn against the grid without any problems. We're going to get problems because we're going to forget this discipline, but we need to remember it. So there we go. We have object placement with collision detection and also with rotation now. So that basically is the build tool. Apart from having some sort of inventory to choose what we're going to build, which will come very soon, that's working. What we need next, unfortunately, we're going to have to do a little bit of boring thing and start replacing the generators class, base class, because we need to make everything derived from the same class that's buildable. So we're going to make a buildable base. Okay, so there'll be a buildable object base, and that can have all the grid position, everything in it, and then from there we'll go to generator base, another child from the master going to production based, you know, that sort of thing. Anything with it will all derive from the same base. And then from there we may even move all the code for ports and stuff into the base. Yeah, we could do, we will see, because then what could happen is it will automatically calculate everything for us in the base, including inputs and output ports for power. So yeah, we could have all that down there, so that regardless of whether it's a supply power base or if it's something that requires power, the building script for the base class will do all the work to determine where the ports are and so forth, and connect them up to connectors. Yeah, but we will just touch on changing the base class. I'll have a play with it first to make sure I don't break anything. But yeah, I hope you've learned something from this. I've certainly learned a lot from this. Some things I've done like this before, but obviously each time you build things is different, and obviously it was just the mesh on that one was giving me a bit of chip. But apart from that, I think that was quite a successful time. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back to the next episode and we'll continue on where we left off and move on to something new maybe. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'd just like to say a very big thank you again. The subscriber count has jumped by 16 in the space of a week, and you know, that doesn't sound like a lot to most people, but to me that's fantastic. And I'm getting, you know, quite a fair number of views. I've had, you know, quite a few likes, you know, comments. Keep it coming, it'll be great. I appreciate it. But we'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye bye.